Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening. We welcome you to the last in our film series presented in conjunction with the Indian Heritage Centre's current special exhibition, Sikhs in Singapore, A Story Untold. This exhibition has been co-created with Singapore's Sikh community and focuses on the history and culture of our Sikh community. This monthly series presents short films made by Sikhs around the world through a range of subjects from history and culture to identity and life in the diaspora. The films bring together diverse experiences of diasporic Sikhs from around the world to juxtapose them with experiences of Sikhs in Singapore. Today, we will be presenting Being Sikh, a trilogy commissioned by the Indian Heritage Centre for the Sikhs in Singapore exhibition, co-created by award-winning filmmaker Upneet Kaur and award-winning Singaporean writer Bali Kaur Jaswal. I would like to invite Malminderjeet Singh, Chairman of the Sikh Advisory Board, to introduce Upneet and today's film trilogy. But before that, let me introduce Malminder. With a unique blend of editorial, public policy, government relations, communications, management, and research experience, Malminder brings a diverse set of skills across multiple industries, and most recently as editor of digital news at Channel News Asia. He has held senior roles as the former executive director of a business chamber, as a trade negotiator for Singapore, and in academia at NUS and SMU. He was selected by the European Union for its Distinguished Visitor Program and the BMW Foundation as an emerging leader in Asia for the Europe-Asia Young Leaders Forum. Malminder, without further ado, could I invite you to introduce today's session as well as Upneet, please?
Thank you, Narina, for that very kind introduction. Hi, everyone. Good to see many familiar faces today here. Thank you for joining us this Saturday evening in what I'm sure is going to be an enriching and good discussion, and as well as a good insights into three wonderfully made films. So I've had the opportunity to view these films because I went for the exhibition at the Indian Heritage Centre, and I'm sure many of you have as well. But let's look today at the films independently of the rest of the exhibition and have an opportunity to also engage not just with the film directly, but also with the filmmaker herself. So a bit about the film. Being Sikh, a trilogy, presents contemporary perspectives on three aspects of Sikh heritage in Singapore. One of which is My Name is Kaur, which adopts a perspective of an elderly woman who stood witness to many important historical events. The second one, Commitment, focuses on younger members of the Sikh community and their reflections on the place of ritual and tradition in their lives. And the third, With Folded Hands, approaches faith and belief from the viewpoint of a child being introduced to these ideas. And the filmmaker herself, Upneet Kaur, is a Singaporean filmmaker who thrives on the buzz of new experiences. Since 2004, Upneet has led projects across digital, television, film, and documentary worldwide. Equipped with a desire to refresh Thai perspectives, her documentaries find themselves amidst diverse communities, from the Romani gypsies to homeless walking guides in London, to poet migrant workers, and of course the Sikh diaspora in Singapore as well. She is the founder of Upneet Media, a content platform that thrives on creative collaboration and a collective space where one world fits all. Upneet is a dear and long-term friend. So Upneet, welcome. Good to see you again. And we will, for those of us who have any burning questions for Upneet on the films themselves, there will be an opportunity to engage afterwards, where we'll have a discussion and a Q&A section at the films, after the films. And you may leave your questions for the speaker using the Q&A button on the Zoom chat on your screens in the interim if you do. And we will take those as they come along. Over to you, Upneet.
Thank you, Mel, for the introduction, and thank you, IHC, for organizing this event, and thank you for the audience for joining us. An excellent intro to the film, so maybe we should just jump into it. We'll have a watch and then let's chat after.
ਬੱਲੜ ਬੱਲੜ ਬਾਵੇ ਦਾ ਬਾਵਾ ਰੂ ਲਿਆਵੇਗਾ ਬਾਵੀ ਬੈਠੀ ਕੱਤੇਗੀ ਮਾਂ ਪੂਣੀਆਂ ਵੱਟੇਗੀ
You want me to sit here?
Yes, yes, please. Yes, sit. We're going to start the interview now.
Right, roll the camera. Camera rolling. Slate it. And out. Okay, focus back on the talent. Focus set.
Okay.
Later, have some hot tea.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Later, later.
Hot
Have a seat first.
Hot
have a
tea
seat.
will be good.
No, have a seat.
let's
please.
make some hot tea.
We'll do the interview first.
My name is Kaur, just Kaur. I'm a housewife. I was born in Singapore. Early days, life was simple, kampong life. We all knew our neighbors. We played outside in one big group. The community would gather in the Gurdwara and we all came together for weddings and celebrations. My favorite part about being in the big groups was singing Kirtan. My voice blended with everybody else's, but I felt like I was soaring. I sang on my own sometimes too, but much more quietly. Sometimes I can still hear the sounds of the Japanese air raids. I was 4 years old when the air raids began. My father, a soldier, was on the front lines every day. And then there was 1965, Singapore's independence. We were at home. My mother taught us to stay calm and brave. She kept busy with household chores, going about normal life as much as possible. Your generation takes the outdoors for granted. We remained inside because it was the safest place during that time. Yes, there were warm meals on the table when my father returned from his long periods on duty. And then I became a wife and a mother myself. I was warming bottles, changing diapers, rocking my grandchildren to sleep.
ਜਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਲਾਲ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਦਿਲ ਦੇ ਟੁਕੜੇ ਅੱਖ ਦੇ ਤਾਰੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਤੇਰੇ ਪਾਈ ਸਾਰੇ ਤੂੰ ਸੁਖ ਪਾਵੇਂ ਮੈਂ ਸੁਖ ਪਾਵਾਂ ਤੇਰੀਆਂ ਹੋਵਣ ਦੂਰ ਬੁਲਾਵਾਂ ਧੁੱਪ ਚਰੇ ਤੇ ਨਿਤ ਨੁਹਾਵਾਂ
It's just an ordinary life. I don't think pioneer is the right title for me. I'm just Kaur, a daughter, sister. Then I became a wife, a mother. Now I'm a grandmother. I didn't fight in any wars or protect Singapore. My father did. My brother also. I was mostly at home.
Tell me slow. I say it isn't so. Turn around, turn me to say you don't
Photographer's on his way.
ਅੱਜ ਵਿਆਹ ਵਾਲੇ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੱਜੇ ਢੋਲਕੀ ਅੱਜ ਵਿਆਹ ਵਾਲੇ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੱਜੇ ਢੋਲਕੀ ਨਾਲੇ ਵੱਜੇ ਢੋਲਕੀ ਨਾਲੇ ਸੱਜੇ ਢੋਲਕੀ
There's only a few days to go to the wedding. You're gonna look beautiful.
Going to look?
Yeah, I meant you are beautiful.
This is just for the Sangeet. Can you imagine how much heavier the wedding dupatta is going to be? All we actually need is just one morning wedding, one simple evening reception, and that's it, right?
Yeah. And like 50 guests.
Okay, not 50 guests. That's just a regular Sunday visit with my masis and my cousins.
Babe, Chachu just sent the pug for the wedding shoot.
You know, I'm excited finally to see everyone come together after all these months. But some of the traditions, I just don't understand them, you know. Like Sai Chitti, for example.
Sai Chitti, I guess, was something that was done back in the day, right? When people lived in distant villages and the girl's side would send a formal invite to the boy's side to come attend the wedding and festivities.
I mean, it made sense back then, right? Since they were coming from these like really distant villages.
Yeah. Clementi to Bidox, still pretty far. No?
This was my mom's wedding dress. Something meaningful, something inherited. This is a piece of personal history. You know, back then, this was the grandest thing my mom ever wore. Nowadays, the wedding guests would be more dressed up, huh? It's simple and beautiful. This is what I'm wearing for our wedding.
Times are different. Some rituals we hold close, others we change. That's the nature of tradition.
We'll probably change, and our kids too. But all I'm really sure about is our commitment to each other. That will stay the same. And that is something all the generations can agree upon.
My first questions were, what do these steps lead to? What is the color of the sky? What is everybody able to see except me? I kept my eyes wide open. I had more questions than answers. My senses filled with the details of my surroundings. The tenderness of soft ground, the thumping of a heartbeat, the tight coils of language. Every visit to the Gurdwara felt familiar. I knew what to do with my hands when the Prashad arrived. When filling out forms at school, there was always that question: what's your race? What's your religion? At that point, I began asking, why? I began with my parents. Who are the Sikhs? My father told me stories of our founder, of music and friendships, of warriors and history, the 10 gurus and the journeys they each fulfilled, about their loyalty and courage. My mother told me about the 5 Ks, Kesh, Ganga, Kada, Kachera and Kirpan, and how the spirit of Sikhism was alive within each of us. To be Sikh is to embark on the search for knowledge. And I had so many questions. My faith is purity. My faith is service. My faith is giving and receiving peace and blessings. My faith is love, not fear. Finally, the question and the answer came to me at the same time. If you cannot see God in all, you cannot see God at all. My son will have questions too. I'll tell him what I learnt, that the search and discovery are worth as much as the answers.
Wow, that was really nice to watch once again, and it's so different to watch it, over video rather than watching it physically at the Heritage Center itself. I think it's a very different emotions that it provokes. Although this is my 3rd time watching this, each time I watch it, I think it's provoked different emotions for me. And what I liked, Upneet, also is that all 3 of them touch, although on different subjects, but I found it very interesting that they all had this local flavor and local identity of what it means to be a Sikh. Auntie G with her, her stories about the war, and the second one with the Auntie Gs who were singing Bolia and having the word Lelong in there, and the third one, of course, about the need for race and religion in our school forms, right? All of us grapple with these questions on a daily, if not a regular basis, right? So I found this very interesting, and thank you for putting these 3 films together.
Which one was your favorite? Which one resonated with you the most?
Yes, I was going to get to that. For me, I like aspects about all 3 of them, but I think the one that really touches my heart is the first one. I think we all know Auntie G. She's a very common face in the Gurdwara, and we all are very familiar with her warmth and her love. And can't help when you look at the film depicting her, you can't help. She reminds me of my own grandmother. So there's a very warm feeling in watching that particular segment itself. So let's get this Q&A and discussion segment officially rolling, if it isn't already. Let's flip it. I know you start off by asking me a question, but let's flip the segment the other way. And let me start by asking you, What got you started in this project in the first place?
I was approached by IHC to come and offer a perspective of film which would encapsulate the Singapore Sikh, the contemporary Singapore Sikh identity. So they put me as a filmmaker together with Bali Kaur Jaswal, who is a writer, to come up with 3 short films, encapsulating the themes of, as we saw in order, which was history, culture, and faith. So that was we were invited to do this film. We discussed it, we understood it, and we went for it. I and Bali Kaur Jaswal, we sat down and we discussed and how we would go around trying our best to encapsulate it. It's a complicated identity, but we tried our best to encapsulate it very simply in the short forms. Yeah, so it's all started end last year, and by the time we started shooting was end of December, early January, edit, and then before you know it, it was up for the world to see.
Right. So what made you decide on these 3 stories in particular? I mean, was there something that, catalyzed that thought or inspired you to?
Yeah, I think so. We had to follow the 3 themes, and we thought what was the most contemporary and what's something we really wanted to push out. And it was the idea of questioning. I think as a dynamic Sikh society, part of the diaspora in Singapore, we wanted to push forward the idea of questioning. So in all the 3 films, if you notice the first one, we wanted to tease out a narrative which has not been talked about as much. We speak a lot about the men, the Sikh men in wars. So we thought, what about the female perspective and how, despite the ordinary life, the extraordinary females holds the fort at home. So that was a question. Let's question history. Let's question the mega narratives. And then the second one was the idea of commitment. We wanted a young couple for that. We wanted to bring in our Punjabi customs and wedding galore in some way or form because it's so important to our identity. So we brought in a couple, but the same idea of question, we go into rituals, we go into the fanfare of wedding, but what's the most beautiful thing? What's the essence of it is the commitment, is your personal history, like the mom's dress. So it's a bit of questioning, just question a little bit, And then when we went on with folded hairs for faith, it's the same idea of we go to Gurdwara, we do everything, and sometimes we just don't understand the depth of history or culture. So when you go in there, he was questioning everything, even the texture of the carpet and the music which was coming. So again, question, understand, and make it your own and go forward and make this a dynamic identity, not something which is going to be stagnant. So that was the core of our discussion, and that's where we went throw it out there.
Wow, that's interesting, very fascinating. So this concept of a dynamic identity as well as looking at very undeveloped or less talked about narratives as well. Right? That's very interesting. I think there's so much material, so much more material there that hasn't been explored, and I hope that's something that you will consider working on in the future as well.
Sure. I'm here to push the little narratives which haven't been spoken about. Yeah.
Great. Okay, at this point, let me ask the audience here as well, the participants here, if you have any questions or comments, to put them in the chat group, and either myself or Narina will get to them, and we'll make sure Upneet gets to hear your questions or your comments and respond to them as well. In the meanwhile, for me, I know I mentioned earlier about the idea of the localization and the heritage that, the identity that ran through all 3 films. What was also interesting for me was the common theme of love against the backdrop of heritage that for me ran through across all films. Was that your intention as well? Or were there other themes that were tied to all 3 stories for you?
I think love is the basis of every narrative. If you have to love, you have to love the complete thing. So that's why, like I said, questioning is part of love. If you want to continue the heritage in a positive way, and our relationships within the community, with the culture, with the faith, with the history, love is the bottom line, and it's the starting point really, and then making it flourish from there. So yeah, so that was the main theme, and then after that was, like I said, questioning and just getting to know this culture from a different dimension.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question that is akin to asking her mother who's her favorite child. Which is your favorite one of the 3?
No, you can't. You can't. They're all such different experiences. I mean, for me, I think I have to give huge credit to the actors who were involved. you're a little afraid to get actors within the community. You don't know many people who are willing to act and give their time. So Madam Sarjeet Kaur Khosa, it was such a pleasure working with her. She was a one-take wonder. And we had the whole day to film, a long period of time in a house. And she literally held the fort during the whole, and she's been so cooperative. And even Arshan Kaur and even Jagraj Singh, and how they contributed, and the rehearsals they went for, how they worked together. They didn't know each other. And going on to the third film, Madam Gurdial Kaur, Professor Bilbir Singh and family, and the son Karanveer, they all came in full force for the show, the Gurdwara Singh Sabha. They were so cooperative from day one. So it's really hard because I have so many other things. It's not just a story, it's the experiences of getting the cast, the locations, the people, my crew, Abhi, who is a cinematographer, working with Bali, Dil, who was one of the production assistants, Farah. It's so much more than just the 3 stories for me. So it's so hard for me to choose. I don't think I can answer that question. It'll be very hard.
I'll spare you that one. We have another question from Neo Ching Cheong, who asks, will you be developing more on these themes you have started? It feels very rich, and this is probably just an appetizer, so hoping to see more.
If given the opportunity, I'd love to develop on it, because you're right. Each subject, we were just touching the surface of each theme. There's so much more to explore, especially with the first one, right? With history, there's so many other stories to the historical aspect of Sikhism. So if given the opportunity, I'd love to go further and bring out all these narratives and explore it, in a deeper way. Yeah. So yes, KIV.
Okay, let me then ask about one other thing I noticed, as you mentioned as well, is that we often lament about how there aren't enough people with artistic talent in the community, but as you showed in all 3 films, the acting was of very good quality, and as far as I know, none of them, except with exception of maybe Jagraj, are trained actors, so. I think there's a lot to be said about how there's a lot of talent in the community, a lot of untapped talent in the community, and I'm glad someone like you steps forward and gives them the platform to showcase this talent, and I hope there are many more platforms to be able to do so as well. Yeah, someone said the 2 kids, the third Samuel and adorable. I completely agree. Yeah,
Agree.
agree.
The little stars, yeah. I think actually the Sikh community, there's a lot of talent when you look out there, even in terms of behind the camera, the directors and the editors and the graphic artists, the theater people. We need to really give them a platform to come forward and share stories and talk about the medium of art, because sometimes it's very literal, as we go along. But when you speak to people who, again, the idea of questioning, the idea of different colors, the different spectrum of textures of life, I think is really interesting if you get everyone together and everyone shares their experiences. This is the artistic value of Sikhism.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is very encouraging to see as well.
So
your own personal journey, what you started as a filmmaker?
So I was never a maths or science person, so I always knew I was going to go into the arts. And I thought writing, I didn't really consider film. I thought it was far away. Bollywood, Hollywood was a far away thing. But I got an opportunity to do an internship with a production house, and that's when I realized I'm in love with this form. And I went for it. I went for all kinds of experiences. I was behind the camera all the time. And then finally, I decided to make a serious career of it when I did my master's and realized that I need both technical and creative skills for this medium. And that's where I started making my own films as part of the syllabus. Otherwise, I might have just been, backstage doing crew work. So when I started making my own films, I realized I had a love for people and community and stories and history. And I saw so many kinds of people, and I just wanted to tell the story. So I went into documentary quite seriously. And since then, I've been doing documentary and of course a lot of other work, but mostly my true love and first love is documentary. So then and I was living in the UK for a long time, and a lot of the films I was doing was outside. A lot of people actually were wondering why I was making films which were not Sikh, which were not Singaporean. I was making films in other communities. Although I do see the whole idea of home to be one big universal theme, but they kept on, why don't you make something? I said, I know I'm still exploring these other stories. So I made stories on the Romi Gypsies, on the homeless community, and But finally, when I came back to Singapore, I think after, capturing the world, I started looking inwards and I started questioning my identity as a Singaporean, as a Sikh. And then I came across the first Sikh film I made, which was Sing in the Lion City, which had a similar dilemma, what is it to be a Singaporean Sikh? So that made me go on that journey, which opened up a whole lot of questions about the Sikh diaspora. And then the Bhai Maharaj Singh documentary came, which made me explore the Singaporean Sikh identity in a global context. And then this film came right after, which made me think even deeper. So apart from Sikh films, of course, I do a lot of other films, but I realize my love is for people and community and niche communities, especially. So it's been a long journey. It's telling of my age, but it's been a long journey. And I hope to continue in it because I'm really enjoying this. And how people take to the films, actually, especially with Sing in the Lion City, a lot of people came forward and were just resonated with what that question was. And so then you realize, you just feel more motivated to keep doing films like this, which make people think and make people see things in a different way. So that's,
No, absolutely. We definitely want you to continue this for as long as you can. And as long as you like, as a community, we're definitely benefiting from your talents as well. So, I mean, I'm sure there are a couple of people here who are also aspiring filmmakers themselves. And for the benefit of them, what were some challenges that you face, getting onto this journey? I'm sure, breaking that stereotype in the community and with family probably would have been one. But besides that, even just the logistical and, the more administrative challenges that you may have had to overcome, could you shed some light on some of these? And how did you overcome some of these challenges?
Yeah, I think not a lot of Sikh people or not anyone in my family or community are in film. So for me, I had to really start from scratch. And but I just went out there, started speaking to people, started helping out in a lot of productions so I could understand, started from the bottom almost. So you understand every single layer of the process. And I think that's really important. So it could be tough days, you're working 3 days in a row. You might be working for very little money. You might be working with different teams, with different temperaments. You might even be doing projects you might not want to do, but you learn from that as well. So I suggest just throwing yourself in the open field. And I think that really gave me a very solid foundation. After that, I think it's just staying grounded. Really, there are a lot of topics which are trendy. So, but I don't think you should be distracted by that. I think it should be a genuine feeling for the topic, an authentic relationship with the topic. So some people do buy into trends and what I should talk about and who I should be pleasing through the film, what I should be saying. And I think that is going to show in the film. So I think that's something you've got to be very crystal clear about what you're doing and whether it appeases or doesn't appease. You're not going to step on anyone's toes, but just do what you feel like doing, I feel. And that may be a longer journey, but it'll be a more fruitful journey as well. In the community, a lot of people don't take it seriously. Maybe just changing a little now, but a lot of people didn't take it seriously. And one of the most common questions, so what's your real job? So it's like, yeah, this is my real job. And it was difficult for them to understand that this could be a career path. But I think, like I said, keep going and keep doing films. Don't stop, whether it's small or big, or just keep doing it. And I think you'll get there. So that's for the filmmakers. But save some money, man, because it's an expensive hobby.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I'd just like to remind everyone again to, throw their questions or comments into the chat or the Q&A function. We are very much keeping an eye out for that. But in the meanwhile, okay, so Upneet, I mean, this is correct me if I'm wrong, but this is your third Sikh film project, right?
Yes.
You did the one with Bukit Brown some years ago. I can't remember the name. Sorry, I forgot the name.
It was Sing in the Lion City. Bukit Brown was one of the stories, and then there were about the military past as well, which we spoke about, and the Sikh Heritage Trail, basically all the points of shared history with the Sikhs in Singapore. So that was Sing in the Lion City.
Sing in the Lion City.
Yeah.
And then you also worked on the Bhai Maharaj documentary as well.
The Saint Soldier.
Project. So what inspires or motivates you to take on these projects for the community? I know you shed the light earlier on how you like to discover undiscovered narratives, but beyond that, is there anything else that wants you to or motivates you to do, especially if it's a community where perhaps the art form is not as appreciated yet?
I think that's what motivates me, the fact that it's not appreciated or understood yet. So I feel like with documentary film is such a visual medium, such a sensory medium, and all this with music and with different characters, the direction, the aesthetics behind it is going to make you feel and think in a different way, as opposed to writing just a black and white or a presentation or something. So I feel like all this would give them an experience to experience Sikhism. So for me, that's the fact that it's unexplored. I have more artistic license, I guess, to push it forward. So yeah, I think that motivates me. I mean, it started from a personal motivation with the film I was exploring, and then as I realized it was resonating with more people, I was more encouraged to do these films. And there are a lot of narratives which have been around, a lot of grand narratives, and I thought it's time to bring in some of the nuances, some of the small narratives as well, because that would be more relatable to many people. So yeah, that keeps me going. I think it's people coming and saying how they resonated with this aspect of the film, or maybe they didn't resonate with another aspect, and I love that conversation. And each time I want to move forward and keep stirring that conversation, Yeah. I hope, it doesn't give any answers. I don't think my films leave you with any answers. It just leaves you with thoughts and feelings.
I think they're very, very reflective, and they also provoke you to think further.
I hope so.
So that's one of your aims as well.
Yes, that's it.
Are there any other unexplored narratives in particular that you are hoping to work on, in the coming future?
So I've been really fascinated with the character of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. There's something I really want to explore, because it's, again, very not spoken of in the world or Singapore or within the Sikh community as much. I feel when I was learning about him for my Bhai Maharaj Singh documentary, The Saint Soldier, I was just like, gosh, he's like Napoleon. It's like, why aren't we talking about this person? We can make an entire documentary on him and his life and his personality and what he did for India and the culture, and so progressive for his time. So that's something, it's there at some point. That needs a lot of time and money, but it's something which I wish to do at some point. Apart from that, I'm still on the lookout. And like I said, these stories can be developed, and with opportunity and time, I will consider that as well. Yeah.
Great. We have a couple of questions. Well, actually, I think these are your best place to answer them. One, Upneet, is someone asked where they could watch your previous two films on the Sikh community. And the second, someone has asked what is the meaning of Kaur. They know that Singh means lion. What does Kaur mean?
Cool. So Kaur means princess.
Right.
That's all I know about it.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Is there any other? That's all. Okay, we need to research further. But Kaur means princess, which is great to uphold. And you can find my films on my YouTube channel, which is basically my name, Upneet Kaur Napal. Some of my other films are there as well, from the Gypsy community, from the poet migrant workers in Singapore and the homeless community. And the two films are there. The current one is still in the exhibition, and I believe IHC will put it up soon and online as well. So yeah, I'd love to hear how they resonate with the films. Yeah.
Carrying on this conversation about the acceptability or the place such art forms have in the community here, and I think it's more unique to a Singapore problem, because I see art form being quite celebrated and quite widely used in, for example, the Sikh diaspora in other parts of the world, whether in Europe or in North America. How do you think the community has changed its view of different art forms, including the stuff that you work on, whether it's docufilms or short films, in recent years, from say the time when we were growing up, for instance?
How have the art forms changed?
How has the community's reaction and acceptability of them changed?
I think we always loved films, maybe not so much documentary, and I think at the moment a lot of young people have started doing film in Singapore. A lot of young people are more engaged with arts compared to our older people, I think. So they are bringing it in slowly and surely. But we have a little way to go, I think. I don't know it. I think we are like the older generation, they're understanding more from the younger generation and the mid generation and all that. So they're looking at it from a different perspective. You still have to, no, that's not real. That's a fictional character. Madame Sarojit Kaur it's a fiction. We have to tell a few people that it's not her story. So you have to explain a few things, but I don't think they're close. I just think they need some time to warm up to the idea. But the young people, some of the art I've seen, like I said, even within the community in Singapore, they're willing to experiment and they're a bit more bold in their narratives. So there's a I don't know if it's not a drastic change for sure. It's a very slow and gradual process, and I think it's going to open itself more and more because we've already teased the boundaries. So I think it's going to open itself. The more encouraging we are as a community and as a country as well, the more it's going to come out and the more it's going to enrich the identity. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think we were too Bollywood inclined for a longest time, right? So I think we're not alien to the idea of film, but to see it in a more personal way is different.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think because of our affinity to Bollywood and to films in general, short films and docu-films are a lot more accepted. And yeah, I mean, I speak from someone who did a poetry book a couple of years ago, and you could see the generational gap, in terms of accepting. The younger ones were a lot more open and a lot more appreciative of it, and the older ones were going like, what is this? I think there is still a gap to be bridged here.
Yeah.
And to appreciate those sort of forms. But I'm glad to see that there are a lot of people out there who, especially among the younger generation, who are taking up different art forms and not afraid of pushing those boundaries.
I mean, glad it's a gap and not a dead end.
Exactly.
It's a very positive gap. So it's just a matter of bridging it. So that's very encouraging.
Yeah, no, very well said. That's a gap and not a dead end. Excellent. On that note, I mean, talking about different art forms, I mean, you got a chance to work with Bali Kaur as well for this project, and she's someone who's also known for a different art form, writing, right? And fictional writing, and through her fictional work, she's also discovered or shed light on other undiscovered Sikh narratives as well, more contemporary ones, I suppose. How was the experience of working with her? And, was there this mutual respect that came in, and how did that, change the dynamics of working together?
I think we both understood where we were coming from because we were both doing very similar things, broaching very similar topics, but from different mediums, right? And it was quite exciting to be able to fuse our minds and fuse the two mediums to voice our thoughts. So we were actually on the same page from day one, which was great. So when we had to discuss the concept based on the 3 themes which were given, we had to sit down and say, okay, we're going to think about the stories now and think about the core and all that. We were in agreement to a lot of things. So it was very, very smooth. And so, yeah, she, because I'm not a fictional person, I'm more documentary. So I think going into her mind as she was exploring some of the fictional characters and story was very interesting for me. And I think for her to understand a little bit more about the production work, to materialize the words on the script was also quite an eye-opener. So I think we both learned and we both gelled on different levels. So we came out with the concept like in one night, I think. And then of course we polished it and honed it. But it's like, wow, we really wanted to share these perspectives through the stories. So yeah, and I hope to keep going to collaborate with different mediums and different artists to keep exploring this, what we can do with this topic, really. There's so much more. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's nice to see two, very different talents in the community come together and work on a project. I think that's very exciting for the community and also for all the aspiring, talents in the community to see both of you, as role models come together to work together. I mean, I hope to see both of you also help develop and nurture that talent in the community as well. And I think they will really appreciate that guidance that comes from established talents as yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's vice versa, right? Even we are going to learn from the younger generation. There's so much they're doing right now. There's so much to learn from them, and to get the old, mature point of view, and to get the younger zest and energy and their perspectives on. If we all get together, it will be a very, very beautiful collaboration.
Sure.
Mhm.
What are your own future plans, both within and outside the community as a filmmaker? Are you working currently on any exciting projects or anything in the pipeline?
I am currently working on a few projects with Channel News Asia,
Hmm.
more national projects and like climate change and this and that. So I'm I got to keep it a bit a variety of subjects. I can't go in the same zone. So at the moment I'm doing that, and let's see what happens after that. Like I said, it's opportunity and subject and story. So if that comes in front of me, I will do it. But let's see how we can develop further. I don't have any concrete plans, but I just want to keep creating and sharing the stories. So if anyone has any ideas or anything they want to explore, go for it. I'm very happy to chat. At the moment, Maharaja Ranjit Singh is there somewhere, whenever. But yeah, I'm very happy doing current projects on other communities and other Singapore related stories as well at the moment. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, very good. And your own experience from working, on this project, but in particular, what were the main takeaways or learning points for yourself?
To try to shoot in more, my schedule's already tight, so I have to keep more time so we really really worked really hard to get the show off the ground. So for me, it's to keep a more moderate time schedule. I feel like I need to hone my fictional side better. So that's my takeaway, to keep working on that and to understand the grammar of fiction, which is very different from documentary. I think I can do much better and learn a bit more from that. Yeah, and I think those, and how cooperative everyone is, and how everyone aligns themselves when you put your project out there. That was very comforting. So that's my takeaway. If there's any project in the future, there are people who are going to support you and help you out. That was very comforting for me. And yeah, so I hope it just resonated with everyone. Not everyone, but at least different parts resonated with different people. So that's something I want to keep doing as well.
And before we end today, again, for aspiring talents in the community, any words of advice before you go?
Just keep walking towards your goal. Don't stop, don't get discouraged. There are going to be lots of people who are going to say what they need to say. Just believe in yourself and keep creating. Don't stop. Don't keep it in your head. Keep materializing, even if it's a 30-second film or a 30-second idea. Just do it. That's my small pearl of advice.
Absolutely. And I think you speak, you walk the talk, and you've shown from your own life examples how it's important to keep on persevering. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts with us.
Thank you.
And also for sharing your perspectives behind the camera on why these films were made and your thoughts behind them. I hope to see more work coming up from you, both within the community and outside. I'll be looking out for them, and definitely be also checking out your previous work on YouTube as well. Thank you, Upneet.
Thank you, Mel. Thanks for the amazing discussion.
Thank you.
Keep watching.
Thank you, Upneet and Malminder, for taking us on this amazing journey of discovering how the films came together. I, of course, had the privilege of knowing how it came together.
Yes.
I'm so glad that everyone had a chance to hear about it from the horse's mouth, as it would. We're really sorry that Bali couldn't join us this afternoon, but I think it was a wonderful, new partnership that we were able to bring together. And we were so delighted that it was two women who were really, flipping some of the narratives of history, because overarchingly it was men who arrived first in the Sikh community in Singapore. So very often the stories, especially historical narratives, have been from the male lens. And we were so excited to flip the coin on that one. Mala, no offense, but I think we really wanted to make sure that the other side of things, however every day it might seem, had a space of expression as well. So thank you so much, Upneet, for making that possible, and for really bringing the importance of the role of the woman in Sikh society to us, apart from the other stories that were so endearing. So if all of you would like to watch them in a theaterette setting, please head down to IHC. The exhibition has been extended and will now be open until the end of January. It will now close on 30th January. So you have no excuse to not make it down there. Please do and watch the films in its really true environment that it was meant to be consumed in. So we hope that you enjoy watching it in a HDB apartment, which is how we've constructed the theaterette with the inputs of the filmmaker and the writer. So we would really love it if you came down to watch it. And with that, we'd like to close this session and thank all of you for spending your Saturday evening with us. Thank you, Upneet and Malminder, once again. Goodbye.